Hello everyone and welcome. Great to see you all here today with me on Storytime 365. My name is Barbara and today I have the funny story called Hibernation Hotel. What does a bear do when he just can't fall asleep? This is a book that's been written by John Kelly with pictures by Laura Brenla. It was way past hibernation time, but Bear just could not sleep. His cave, as usual, was much too crowded. Raccoon snored, Beaver fidgeted, and Skunk, quite frankly, was a little bit smelly. "I've had enough of being treated like a big furry mattress," Bear grumbled. So he got up, made a phone call, and booked a room at a fancy hotel. "Ah," said Bear as he drove away, "peace and quiet at last." The hotel was huge and fancy, just like the front desk clerk's mustache. Bear tried not to stare at it as he checked in. "Would Sir like a wake-up call?" asked the front desk clerk. "Yes, please," said Bear. "March 1st. The bellman showed Bear to his room. It was bigger than his entire cave. "This is the life!" exclaimed Bear, bouncing up and down on the bed. "And look at these snacks," Bear cheered. He didn't know which one to eat, so he ate them all, then washed everything down with a huge gulp of water. Bear used every bottle of shampoo and all of the hot water too. Then he dried his fur, brushed his teeth, and flopped exhausted into bed. "Perfect," he yawned as he closed his eyes and boom biddy boom boom thump 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 didn't fall asleep. "A party?" groaned Bear. "This is worse than Raccoon snoring." He stomped down the hallway. "Would you mind keeping the noise down?" he growled ever so politely. "I am trying to hibernate." The other guests were quick to quiet down, so Bear stumbled back to bed. But no matter how much he tried, Bear just could not sleep. "Humph," he moaned. "This bed is too squishy for a big-boned bear." So he flung the blanket and pillows onto the floor and crawled under them. "Ah, toasty," sighed Bear, snuggling in. He grew toastier, then roastier, until... "Oh no," he cried. "Now I'm too hot." He threw off the blanket and pillows and opened the window to let the cool night air ruffle his fur. Soon Bear wasn't hot anymore, but he wasn't sleepy either. "Maybe a little TV will help me sleep," he sighed and began to click through the channels. There was nothing on but wildlife shows, and for some reason, they made Bear feel sad. So he turned the TV off and flopped back into bed. Bear lay in the dark, wide awake, and all alone. "I just don't get it," he huffed. "I'm in a luxurious bed with no snoring, fidgeting, or skunky smells, and I still can't sleep." Deep in the pit of Bear's tummy, there was a strange, hollow, empty feeling. And right then, Bear knew exactly why he couldn't sleep. "I'm hungry," he howled. "A bear can't be expected to sleep on an empty tummy." Bear called room service. "I'd like to order the menu, please," he said. "All of it." A few minutes later, there was a knock on the door. The bellman wheeled in the cart. Bear licked his lips and lifted the largest cover. But instead of a fabulous feast, he found his furry friends. "What are you doing here?" bellowed Bear. "We missed you," they cried. "We can't get to sleep without you." Soon Bear was buried beneath a pile of his sleepy friends, and even though Raccoon snored, Beaver fidgeted, and Skunk was still a little bit smelly, Bear didn't mind. He was finally fast asleep.
Hello everyone, and welcome. Thank you for being here today with me on Storytime 365. My name is Barbara, and today I've chosen the Peace Book. This is a book that's great in time for Remembrance Day, and it gets us to think about what peace means to us. This is a book that's been written and illustrated by Todd Parr. Peace is making new friends. Peace is keeping the water blue for all the fish. Peace is listening to different kinds of music. Peace is saying you're sorry when you hurt someone. Peace is helping your neighbor. Peace is reading all different kinds of books. Peace is thinking about someone you love. Peace is giving shoes to someone who needs them. Peace is planting a tree. Peace is sharing a meal. Peace is wearing different clothes. Peace is watching it snow. Peace is keeping the streets clean. Peace is offering a hug to a friend. Peace is everyone having a home. Peace is growing a garden. Peace is taking a nap. Peace is learning another language. Peace is having enough pizza in the world for everyone. Peace is keeping someone warm. Peace is new babies being born. Peace is being free. Peace is traveling to different places. Peace is wishing on a star. Peace is being who you are. Peace is being different, feeling good about yourself, and helping others. The world is a better place because of you. Love, Todd. Hello everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining me today on Storytime 365. My name is Barbara, and today I'm going to share with you a story about friendship. This book is called Bear's Winter Party. It's a book that's been written by Deborah Hodge, and it's illustrated by Lisa Sinar. Bear lived in a forest on the side of a mountain. He felt at home among the trees. He nibbled on sweet wild berries. He sipped cool water from the stream. He breathed in the fresh mountain air. Bear loved living in the forest, but sometimes he got lonely. When Bear picked berries, deer ran and hid deep in the woods. When Bear fished in the stream, Beaver slapped his tail and dove underwater. When Bear collected hazelnuts and honey, Chickadee flew to the top of the tallest tree. Squirrel scurried into her nest, Hare hopped away, and Fox slipped into his burrow. Wherever he went, Bear heard the other animals talking about him. He's so big, said Squirrel. His claws are long, said Hare. His teeth are sharp, said Deer. His voice makes a rumbling sound, said Chickadee. Bear spent the summer by himself. In the fall, he was still alone. I wish I had a friend, he said. Bear saw that the days were growing short and the air was getting chilly. It was almost time for his long winter sleep. I need to do something now, he said. Bear got to work. He made invitations. Come to my winter party, they said. Then he delivered them. One for Deer deep in the woods, one for Beaver near the stream, one for Fox at his burrow, and another for Chickadee high up in a tree. He left the last ones for Hare and Squirrel outside their homes. Bear hurried back to his den. He swept the floor. He hung an evergreen bough on his front door. He decorated his walls with sprigs of holly and bright red berries. He roasted hazelnuts and made trays of huckleberry tarts and honey ginger cookies. Then he lit a fire in the fireplace and set a lantern in the window. Last of all, he brewed a big pot of spiced cranberry tea. He was ready. Bear looked out the window. He saw that snowflakes were falling and the afternoon was growing dark. No one is coming, he said sadly. When he had almost given up hope, Bear saw Deer peeking out from behind a tree. With him were Beaver and Fox. Chickadee, Hare, and Squirrel were there too. What will they do? Bear wondered. Chickadee was brave. She flew to the window of Bear's den. She peeked in and saw how warm and beautiful it was. Let's go in, she called to the others. Slowly, very slowly, the animals crept closer to the den. When they finally got to the door, Beaver knocked. Just a tiny knock. We're here for the party, he said in a small voice. Come in, said Bear. I am so glad to meet you. All the animals squeezed inside. Bear passed around bowls of roasted hazelnuts and plates of honey ginger cookies and huckleberry tarts. He poured cups of spiced cranberry tea. Would anyone like seconds? He asked. At first the animals were quiet, but one by one they began to talk. These nuts are delicious, said Squirrel. May I have another cup of tea? Asked Hare. Fox said, I didn't know bears could bake. Bear smiled. I love to bake, he said. Would you like another cookie? After the animals finished their tea and treats, Chickadee suggested they have a sing-along. I'll start, she said, and you can join in. Soon all the animals were singing and tapping their feet. Beaver tapped his tail. Bear clapped his paws in time with the music. Then Fox pulled out his harmonica and began to play. Bear did a little jig in the middle of the room. Everyone cheered. Would anyone like to dance with me? Asked Bear. Before long, the whole group was dancing. Round and round the den they went, swinging and swaying, whirling and twirling, bobbing and bouncing. This is so much fun, said Hare. I could dance forever, said Bear. After many songs, the music slowed down and the dancing stopped. Bear saw that the lantern was burning low and the fire was almost out. He knew his party was ending. As the animals got ready to leave, Bear said, Thank you for coming. I hope you had a good time. Then he gave them each a gift, a jar of his own blackberry jam tied with a ribbon. I made it myself, he said. That was a great party, said Fox. Thank you for inviting me, said Deer. I'd like to come back, said Beaver. Sleep well, said Squirrel. See you in the spring, said Hare. Bear gave each one of them a big furry hug. Come again, he said. Chickadee kissed Bear on his cheek. You are a good friend, she said. The animals wandered through the trees back to their own homes. Bear heard them humming as they went. He looked out the window. The snow was falling quickly now. Soon the whole forest would be covered in a thick blanket of white. Bear put the dishes in the sink. He blew out the lantern and climbed into his bed. It's time to go to sleep, he said, with a yawn. He pulled the quilt up to his chin and closed his eyes. As he drifted off, he gave a happy sigh. For Bear knew that when spring came and he woke up, he would have a forest full of friends. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the story too. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you tomorrow for another fun and exciting story. Bye for now.